Good evening, everybody. August 20th, 2021. Bitcoin has made some more progress here. Unfortunately, we don't have complete clarity yet. This still can be playing out. This five-wave move that I've been watching here in the blue, with this being our 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once again, this move down and this too was deeper than I really wanted to. If it had gone a little bit higher, I'd have some more confidence in this count. But we do have an alternate that I'll go over as well, just in case that is incorrect there. But at the moment, it has struck this target zone here for yellow 5 and blue 5, actually both, pretty much exactly. So if we fall from here, that would be ideal for this count to be proven correct. So there's a couple different things that I'm looking at. Primarily, I'm looking at, we've got our yellow 3 here, and then we've got this choppiness, three-wave motion here, and we have 3 of them. We've got an A, B, C, another A, B, and C, and a third A, B, and C here. So that very well may be making up this complex W, X, and Y in order to give us yellow 4. So that is possibility 1, and if that is the case, then we've just completed blue 5 and yellow 5 here. And so what that means is we should be looking at a correction of some sort. Now obviously, you know, like this one for instance is a WXY as an expanded flat correction. So we don't necessarily need to get the traditional A, B, and C down, but that's what we would typically be looking at. And we'd be looking for kind of a deeper move down, probably into this blue zone, in order for that to happen. But I think the key to look for in this, if this is the correct scenario, is that if it's a traditional pullback, we'll get one leg down, we'll get a relief rally, and then from there we can pull a fib extension and project where the remaining leg may go in an A, B, and C move. So that is one scenario. Another scenario that is potentially correct is that 5, this blue 5 and this yellow 5 here, have actually completed right here instead, where it spiked this target box the first time. And if that's the case, then what we're looking at is this being a high B and then a low C here. And if that's the case, then what we should see is, instead of a 3-wave move down like this, and within this it'll be 5 micros, 3 up, and then 5 micro down, right? We may already have, and this actually works well for this to be the A, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 micro down, we have A, B, C up in B, that's a 3-wave there. So this may in fact be the correct one, but then we'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 down here. So basically we'll see a single 5-wave move instead of a 5, then a 3, and then another 5. So I think that was probably confusing, especially because the target zone is really pretty much the same either way. But the way that I've looked at this before, and if I go back here, we saw something very, very similar happen right here, where we ended our yellow 5, we had an A, the B actually went higher than the 5 there, and then we had the C down here. And this is actually like that in that case. So what I look for in this case is I look for basically the point of control where most of the price action has surrounded it, you know, has spent time, right? It spent a lot of time here, it ducked below it ducked above it, and then down below it again. So this distance from this middle point up to B, you usually find the same distance down than to C. right? So that's what I'm looking for to happen here as well, if that's going to be the case. So that's why I have this target drawn here. So, and really, let's say it already topped out. So if that's the case, then we topped out with this basically $3,300 move. So we would see then a $3,300 move downwards, and that projects downwards to about 42,700, which is pretty close to this blue box that I was looking at anyway, which is nice horizontal support all in here. This is resistance, resistance, resistance. We broke through it. It should now act as support if we come down to test it. So either way, like I said, if this is an expanded flat correction with this red ABC, or if we've already completed here, I'm expecting a move of some sort down. So I think this middle zone here that I've identified, this is you know, where most of the price action has occurred, here, 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 here. It kind of has always been coming back to this point, right? So we duck below it with A, we're going way above it with B, and we'll duck below it in C potentially here. So if we break this 46K, this is my primary scenario here. And you know, it's kind of unimportant whether this is the correct way to look at it or this alternate is fairly unimportant. It just kind of dictates how we're going to go down. So unless we break above here, and that's a separate story that I'll go over, but from here, if we fall and we break 46.1, we're either going to see 5 down here, 3 up, and then another 5 down to a target like this, and we'll get an A, B, and C in that way, or we get a single 5-wave move down. But like I said, it doesn't really matter either way. The target, I think, is probably about the same. So, all right, and that's enough on this. I'm not even going to call it a bearish scenario because it's really not bearish, but that is our scenario for this to be the correct count here in the blue. And what that does for us is it just tells us that then this whole thing is 1, and wherever we come down to is 2, and then we will project upwards from there what our next moves are going to be. Okay, so that's why this is important to determine if this is the case or not. So I'm basically looking at that 46K region with a lot of interest to see if we break below that, because that would indicate that that's the case. All right, that's enough talking about that. Let me go over to the other chart that I have here. And if I go to the hourly on this one, so the alternate way to look at this, like I said, is that, oops, what is that? Oh, okay. Is that instead of this being like I have in the other one, this is 1 and this is 2, right? And then 3, 4, and 5. Instead of that, it's possible, because of how deep this came, maybe this is like a double bottom sort of thing, right? And then we kind of ignore, there's our neckline there, but we kind of ignore all of this action, which I don't like doing, but when you have a double bottom, it kind of just resets things, right? So if that's the case, then we reset things, and this wave, which is 3 in my other count, is actually just the first wave. Right, and so we've got a 1 and a 2 there, and then we have a higher projection here, a more immediate count. And so for this to be the case, I needed to see rejection around the green 618. It went a little above it, right? And then holding the green 382, which it went a little above it. So this does make sense for that to be a 1 and a 2. And then we need to see basically 5 waves up then and working on this. So we need to go to about 59K for this to be the case. Now obviously we want to be able to to know which is the correct path before we get there. So like I said, 46K is a very interesting region to watch in the other one. And on this one, I was looking for the micro. If I go down to the 5 minute, I was looking for the micro to give me 5 waves up in a first wave of that move upwards, right? So I don't really have a super clear, like this is the ideal region for 3. We didn't, like this is the ideal region to hold for 4. We really didn't come down there at all, but we did hit the ideal region for 5 then, although with how high 3 went, 5 really should have gone higher. So like even if this is a shallow 4, this is not really an ideal look for this to take at the moment. But it is still a possibility that we have these 5 waves, and maybe this still comes up a little bit higher still from here and finishes out there. But that then would make up a first wave here. We should still see a pullback though. So once this completes, let me get rid of this yellow fib, right? Let's say that we've completed already, just out of curiosity, and pull a fib here. We should see this 2, right, this larger 2, we should see that occur fairly soon here, and it should hold basically above 46K. It should hold this region here. So if we get a pullback into the 46 to 48 region, and we hold that region, okay, if we get a pullback down here and we hold in this region and never break below that 46, remember that 46 is what I'm looking at on the other chart as well. So if we stay above 46 and then start moving upwards again, then this more immediately bullish count becomes the primary scenario. But I've been selling. I sold a little bit more at 49K. I had a little bit more even higher up, you know, closer to 50 that I would sell. So I'm at about 55%, maybe 60% cash right now. And I'm pretty happy with that because my average sell at this point has been about 46 and a half, I think, somewhere around here. So even in this more immediate bullish scenario, we're still probably coming down to about there. So I think my plan is to right around 46 to 47 in this region where this is a possibility. I'm probably going to buy some of the Bitcoin back that I sold because I've sufficiently distributed or averaged up my sell at this point where that's my average. So I can start buying some back really without losing anything in that region, just in case this holds. I will still probably stay at about 50% cash though. Like I'll go from, I said I'm about 55 to 60% cash right now. I'll just move it to about 50% if we get to here instead, just in case it goes up from there. And then if it does go up from here, if we get a clear 3 waves down here and we hold this support and start bouncing, then on the next little pullback, I'll probably then move the majority of my cash back over into Bitcoin, and I'll put a stop down below that 46 region that I think is key. So that's kind of my plan there, and it's why I've been selling. I knew that I could sort of average things up and really not be at risk of missing out on anything. You know, I'm still, number one, I still have half of my cash into crypto, so you know I'm not missing out on anything in that way. I'm just sort of reducing volatility. And number two, I'm expecting at some point we do get a pullback, even if it's just into this region before we go up, where I can rebuy and I can watch and see and let it prove itself to me. And if not, if we actually crack below this and we go below that 46K, then I can get rid of this bullish scenario and go back to the one I was looking at previously. And I'll be quite happy that I've sold at an average of 46 or 47 because I'm expecting us to go down to at least that 42, 43 region and maybe even lower than that. We'll see how it goes. But but I can then pick up my additional Bitcoin. If we break down below 46, I'll pick a significant amount up again around 42, 43. And that's my plan on how to play this, because the next move after this, however this resolves, the next move after this is going to be pretty significant, I think, in any scenario. So keep in mind, end goal on this, end goal on Bitcoin still is anywhere between 80 and 100K in my opinion, based on the analysis. So really, you want to make sure you're exposed to it, and I'm just trying to play these swings and be as smart as possible, just to take out some volatility as we go. As we start getting into these resistance zone, I'll be selling, I'll be fading out, and then fading back in as it comes down, and just trying to play those swings. But I will not fully get out of my crypto positions until much closer to the ideal region of up here in the 80K to 100K region. So yeah, all right. I think that sufficiently explains the various possibilities that we have here, and I would let's just go over one more thing. How do we know that this is the best case scenario? Ideally, like I said, we get into this box and hold, but if not, if we just really shallowly, maybe we just shallowly tap it there before going up, that would be okay. I would say really, I think above 50K, a sustained break above 50K. So if this does this, and then we get up here above 50K and we retest and we sustain above it, then I'll expect that we just keep pressing upwards. And if that's the case, then I'll probably have to jump in to some spot buys a little bit higher than where I sold, but that's all right. Like I said, I'm still in 50% crypto anyway, so I may have missed out on some of the gains, but in my opinion, it was worth it, worth the risk, because the reward of selling out here and rebuying lower is significantly greater than risking on, losing a couple percentage points up here. So watch 46, that's a big one, and watch 50K. Just psychologically, if we can break above that and sustain above it, then I think we're in this scenario almost certainly. So, all right. Any questions, obviously let me know in the group, and we'll see where we end up by the end of the weekend. Keep in mind, weekend action is always a little crazy. You can't really trust it that well, because it's super low liquidity time. So we could still get wicks up above 50, and that's why I say I want to see sustained above 50 before I go in again. But so stay safe this weekend, and let's see where we are by the week's end. All right, good night, everybody.